doing this.
Formerly a walk-on. I was talking with Tony
Share
Alford,
screen.
the running back coach before the
How do I
game,
do that?
and he
Share my
raved
screen.
about the young talent on this team. Marsh really at the forefront of that with his quarterback, Bryce Underwood. Second down and 6 at the 44. And
Excuse me, everybody. I'm trying to figure these things out.
I tell you who's raved about Tony Underwood. Jerome Moore.
Well, anyways,
You know,
hey,
Coach Alford.
hi, how you doing, y'all? This afternoon, sitting here watching the Michigan Northwestern game. Was doing yard work earlier, and so I thought I'd come on and say hey and show you around. Well, kind of show you around. I can't really. I'm trying my laptop, or not my laptop, yeah. So you can probably hear the game in the background. I should probably turn that down. I'll turn that down. So right now it's 14-9. They're second and 11. So we'll see what's going on, but I can't believe it's only 14-9. But right now outside it's cloudy. It's warm today here in Michigan. And today's it though. After this, the bottom falls out and winter starts to show up. Oh, here we go. Oh, what a play. Oh, here we go. Nice play upfield, about a good 30-yard play right there. Hell yeah, first down. They're definitely in field goal territory. So, hey, I put up a video a little while ago today, and I just want to expand on some of the things I probably said if you haven't looked at it yet. But there are some things about guns that I said and stuff. Please don't take any of that into content. Just take what I say and say, okay, yeah, do I agree or disagree? I mean, that'd be all right. Either way, you guys want to disagree, that's fine too. But what right now is I was going to get up and do some painting, which I actually do that. I could show you some painting and skills and things of that nature. But just wanted to, just really see it here and enjoy my Michigan football, All right, pass interference in the end zone, so that'll be first and goal. Here we go. That's an easy reception. So yeah, it was it's the university I've always been known and associated with my whole life. I mean, I'm not an alumni person, or I'm alumni of their transplant unit. Yeah, of course. So that I consider that. But my grandfather, I did have my great grandfather actually worked there on the grounds back in the day when the university was a little smaller, but it was still a university. Obviously it was still one of the major universities in the country. It's always been that way. But still, I've always been a U of M fan. Always. No matter what. My grandfather, my mom's dad, U of M this, U of M that. Heck yeah. We sit down all day on Saturdays when I was up north or something. It was U of M, and all I remember is good old Bull Schembeckler days as a coach. And so, yeah, it was good, man. It was awesome. Especially this time of the year. You're getting towards Thanksgiving, it's family time. Time to get together with everyone. And that's what happens when you get this age. People like that are no longer around. I do have my grandmother, my mom's mom. She's still around. She's 95. She lives not too far from my mom. They live in the central part of Florida. My mother's in a home. My grandmother, not my mother, my grandmother's in a home. My mother's in a home. Wow, my mother heard me say that. Holy cow. Touchdown, Michigan. All right, everybody, let's sing the song. So anyways, touchdown. They knocked the ball out of his hands. They all think the guy from Northwestern think he got a fumble. All you have to do is right there. The ball has to cross the plane of the goal. Touchdown. The ball comes out. Now it's a fumble. Well, I don't think it's a fumble. It's already touchdown. Anyways, you got if you got questions, I can ask. I can answer any question you want about anything. Ask me about me. I can give you some answers. I'm gonna give you all the personal answers, but because it's personal. But I really love my life. I can't. It's way better than it's ever been. Even when I quit drinking back in 2020, actually March 3rd of 2020, right as COVID was hitting at its prime. And yeah, I mean, once everybody said, we're going to stay in, you got to stay in, can't go nowhere. I know that drinking probably went crazy. All the drinkers, hey, all right, because you can order. You can order online now to have your booze delivered. What the hell? It's like living here, we can have our weed delivered. And it's legal. That's weird. And you don't have to go to a parking lot or somebody's house or something and say, hey, So it's different. It is different. But up here around here, too, everybody, even though there's dispensaries, I don't know why I'm going off of what I was talking about earlier, but everybody around here who likes to go to dispensaries still do. But there are people still around here who grow. I still own my grow stuff. I just don't. I don't grow no more. Because one thing I got sick, that liver. Once my liver got bad, I really stopped doing a whole lot of things. Really. Anyways, what I'm saying is weed and all that. That's. I'm sorry. Yes. Why you look at my number or my name on my channel, Water Tuck 1620, military time, 4:20. 16 is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So 16:20. Water Tuckies, because where I live, that's what a lot of us called it when I lived here. And yeah, it's like that. Of course it is. It's redneckish. It don't matter. We have all sorts of people living around, so we're all like that, We all, because it's Michigan, man. It's cars everywhere, cars this and cars that, So that's the big thing. That's why there's a whole different culture around here. It's not just the sports teams doing it. It's people. People who do get along. People don't get along. And it's okay. And it's one of those things for me now. It's after a close death was a close touch to death for the second time. I'm still here, and I say the second time because the first time I was put in a coma for I drink way too much. I I don't know. I could probably drink a gallon, and a half a day, almost somewhere there. And I know people are going, "There's no way. There's no way." Well, there's always a way. Trust me. You find it when you're not ready to stop, and you want to keep continuing. You're going to become desperate, and you're going to keep doing that, man. Just like anything that you get addicted to. And it was my biggest drug of choice, which I know it's not really a drug, but it still gives you effects that some do, even a little better. And you don't feel pain. That's the biggest thing. No pain. So I know it sounds depressing. I know I gotta stop being depressed, but I just want you to know some of my story, and that's part of it. This is the way I think sometimes. My thinking may be a little, because it is, you know, I been through a lot, so I guess kind of it got warped a little, I guess. Just think about it. I had to fight for things to improve health wise. It was a struggle. Sure, it was a struggle. But thank God to my wife. I have a wonderful wife. She's my caregiver. But we don't have. The greatest thing is now that we're not with the liver transplant people anymore at the university. I'm back to the VA. And so it's awesome. I mean, the appointments is what I'm getting at. The appointments have definitely come down, for sure. There are some that I have. I have a PT every now and then. I got to get intercepted by Northwestern. Oh well, shit happens. Oh, it happens. Oh, sorry. But hey, anyways, what I'm getting at is that my days that I have are better than they've ever been. I'm out here in my garage every day. You can ask my wife. I'm out here all the time. I'm really actually what I'm really trying to do is work on my channel, work on myself, work on uh, what I can, and go with it, and go with what appointments come up, which are the basics now, pretty much. I still gotta go get blood, that's a monthly thing, or when the liver, or when my liver doctor I have now at the VA, he and his assistant, when they see something different in my blood results from the last blood test, it's always all right. Go get more blood. Gotta get more blood. It's one of the biggest things for me. I got used to a lot of needles. I can't even use my left arm because my left arm is actually scarred up. If you can see it right there, that's all scarred up from IVs. I had two of them blow up in this arm, so I was subjected to use my right hand all the time. My right arm got bad. I mean, I was this pain every. I felt like the days when, yes, the days when I used, I hit everything. Yeah, I know. I'm not the perfect human being in the world. I never will be. The only person I know that's perfect is the one that I know. We can call him God. That's for me. That's the only human being that's perfect. You know, besides maybe, I'll say Jesus. Yes, Jesus sacrificed a lot, but it's like there's a lot more that was sacrificed for every one of us. Sorry, y'all. I had a I had a piece of my wire wheel sitting in my chair, and it was poking my ass. Yes, I was getting poked. They didn't feel good either. No reach around either. Just kidding, y'all. I know little humor. What the hell? Gotta have humor. Normally, I usually have a lot of it. That's for sure. I do, and right now, it's trying to develop a lot more than just the humor. What I'm saying is, the opportunity to be here today and saying things to y'all or whoever's watching or you ever feel like watching. Um, if you do, man, go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll give you more, definitely more of me, of course, all the time. That's what you'll get. I'll give you little bits and pieces of info and what I can talk about, I guess I should say, and what I don't feel like divulging, I guess, until later, whatever. So, because I'm getting all used to is being in front of the camera, being in front of people, letting people see me, and, all the people that I've noticed that, of course, I, I always check on my analytics on everything, so I know who's watching where, what devices, where at, how long, all that stuff. And I'm pretty sure you all heard that from other creators and everything, where they say, yeah, you can check everything and where it's at and what's at and who's at. So that's that. I think that's really cool. To know. So that information really kind of makes you feel good. It's like, all right, people, thanks. Because trust me, I support quite a few channels to myself. I subscribe to a lot of them. And I even, if any of you ever use Patreon, I get on Patreon too. I have a couple of channels I really really support. So hey, I'm not just mind doing my thing and saying, hey, it's just my channel and I don't want to help anybody else out. No, everybody needs help. So the best I can do is, if I want to pay extra money and help them out, then hell yeah, why not? Especially there's one, during this time, especially when I was sick. Here you go. This is it. I started watching YouTube the first or second time I was hospitalized. I started watching it, and I started watching another channel that does snowmobiles and everything. And I know some of you will know who it is, or he likes to clean those cars. And so I started watching him a lot. I was like, all right, cool. Guy does snowmobiles and all that fun stuff, and has people there and friends. And, I thought, wow, if I get better enough, maybe I can start doing this. So then I started watching more than just one. I started watching other channels, some other people that I like to watch. So, watch that and learn, try to learn some. I am trying to still learn here. Obviously, I'm doing this live thing, and what am I doing it about? I know I'm doing it about me in the football game, and Northwestern just scored after that interception, so now it's 21-16. So Michigan's, not playing good football, really, honestly. Oh, I shouldn't say that. They are playing good football. They're just making mistakes. An interception, a missed field goal, uh, a fumble. No, so those hurt. Anyways, I'm not in here to beg for help or anything. That's what I'm getting at. It's just like I just want people to know that I support others. And all those people who have subscribed so far to me. I've gone back, and most of them all have channels, and I've subscribed to pretty much all of them. You know, I've answered all comments. Just trying to do what I'm supposed to do as a human being and reach out and let people know and say, hey, thank you. So, it's like, it's for me, it's Veterans Day was around. It was awesome. No, everybody's saying thank you, thank you. It's great. I get that a lot when I go out in public and I'm wearing something that somebody sees and says, "Hey, thank you for your service," or I get somebody to come over, don't even know them. They tap me on the shoulder. Hey, thank you for your service. It's like, wow, that stuff to me is really weird and different because when I was in, that was never done. Not at all. The service was a service. Wow, no respect for it. I don't know. There maybe was respect, but I didn't. Not like it is today. There are no people coming out of the blue you don't even know saying thank you, and it's like, wow, it's it's a lot to take in. It's a lot of it is gratitude. But some of my gratitude, I have a hard time showing it. I'm one of those people that when I have to do it. I do it, and when I do it, sometimes I do it because I know I'm doing it out of my heart and being thankful. And it's just sometimes to me it's overwhelming. There's a lot of things that are overwhelming right now, still going on. I can't believe what's going on with me and where I've been. The year this year was really good for us. Got to travel for the first time in 4 or 5 years. I couldn't even leave the state for a long time, actually. If I went anywhere, I had to call my doctor, say, hey, can I go up north for the weekend? Yeah, okay, how many days you going to be gone? Where are you going to be? Blah, blah, blah. So I had to give all that information every time I went somewhere so they knew where I was. So at all times, it's because the call could come in for a liver. Call could come in and say, hey, we need you to come back into the hospital for whatever my labs readings were. If they were off the chart, and they were off the chart. Normally, sometimes, most of the time, they were. So elk frost is one of the big things that they look at. There are all sorts of types of things in their blood that they look at for you when you go through liver disease to, if you're lucky enough and blessed to get a liver and have somebody donate an organ, which is another thing I like to propose to people too, is don't be afraid to put I want to donate well in your driver's license or however you want to do it. And if you feel that that's what you're going to want to do in case, something happens, maybe you have some good organ and it can work. Or you got a family member. Maybe you might be the right blood type. That's another thing. Go get yourself tested to see where you stand blood wise. They can figure that out for you. They can't figure it totally out, but they can give you directions. And so you can go those ways. So there's lots of things to that when it comes to organ donation on that. And but the other thing that comes with it, and it sucks, is as a recipient, you think of that family every day. Every day you think of them. You think of them and you pray. You thank them every time. Every time I get a chance. Not a chance. What am I saying? Every time I get a chance. I guess maybe because what I'm saying is every day is just one day at a time for me. It's so I say it's a chance. Okay. Am I gonna wake up in the morning? Possible. If I do, then thank you, Lord, and thank you for my donor. I don't know if it's a he, I don't know if it's a she, I don't know where it came from, and they don't even know who got it. And it's a really hard process to even get in touch with those folks, or those folks get in touch with you. it's you can find out, but then if you want to make it further, it's all up to that family. Once you get some information, and that's all you can do is get the information and hold on to it. Now it's up to the family to reach out if they find out who got it, and then they can say, "Hey, thank you," or whatever, and hey, let's meet. That would be cool. I'd love to meet that family. Hell yeah, man, that'd be awesome. I give them all hugs, love them all, and take them in as my family. It's you're part of my family now. You are part of my family. You've been part of my family because I have a part of your family inside me. So it's funny. I'm just sitting here thinking I'd love to show you all my scar, but I think being alive probably not a good idea, and I really don't want to even try to do it in a video. I just don't want people to have, there are people out there that don't like stuff like that, and it grosses them out, scares them, whatever, So, but it is a cut. It goes like this. Actually, it's a cut like this here. I'll kind of stand up a little, but it's a cut. It comes right across here, and they peel it back like about that much, and then they do their thing. Then they didn't staple me or nothing. They just glued me back. And then I put a bunch of bandages all around me. And I was being told, you're going to be here for at least a week. And I was only there for 4 days. That's how fast I wanted to get out of the hospital. I'll tell you, that's how much the stubbornness is up here going, sorry, y'all. I'm getting out. I'm getting out of this hospital. I have a couple of my thumbnails I put up with me and put in my walker because I have a walker. I still have it, and that walker walk is the day after I got out of ICU and I went to my room, and they were telling me, "Oh, you got to get up. You got to start walking." And I was like, "My ass ain't getting up and walking." And they said, "Well, if you want to get out of here, you'll do that." Sorry. And so I got up. I said, "All right, cool. Give me my walker." Give me my walker, and my nurse was there with me, and we walked. I walked down the hall from my room and then back. So I probably traveled maybe 20, 25 yards and then turned around and went back another 25. And that was a lot. That was a lot of movement for somebody. And of course, I could feel it. Trust me. I was breathing hard. Because I could feel it because I was pushing way too hard. But I was, and I did. And then I was out in 4 days. But then another thing, then the problem is coming back in for an appointment like a week and a half later after. As we're going back, we're driving from here down to Ann Arbor. Bam! All of a sudden, I get this bad tear feeling in my. I didn't know it was a tear, so that's why I keep saying tear. But I didn't know at the time, and I felt fluid moving throughout my body, left and right, and it was hurt. It hurt, and it hurt bad to the point where I was basically I was bent over. And by the time we got to the ER, we had already called the doctors and we told them what was going on. And we got to the ER and they brought me right in, threw me right back in there, my surgeon team, and then they showed up in the ER and they said, "He's coming out with us." Bam, upstairs I went. Or maybe it was upstairs, second or third floor where surgery is out there at the hospital. Anyways, so go back in, go back under again, in the same room that I got my liver transplant done in. And the funny thing is the number is my birthday number. So it was funny. My birthday is December 17th. So, anyways, so I was in that room twice. So I thought it was kind of cool and kind of like it was a sign. It was like, okay, I'm good. I'm in the same room. Hey, So what I had was a tear from. It, was it a tear? It was a tear in my where they hooked up to my gallbladder. There was a tear there. There was a real small tear, and it was leaking fluid from the gallbladder into my system. So, so here I am. They opened me again, and they fixed me, and they said, and that's time I spent. I think I spent a week. Yeah, that time I spent a week in the hospital. I didn't push it. I was like, I'll stay as long as I can until I have to leave, basically. And then I was a week. It was 5 days, 5, 6, no, 6 days. So, you know, get out, and thinking, all right, cool, everything's good. Everything was good. But, the biggest thing for me was being able to walk, get out of bed, walk from my bedroom to the couch. And most of the time, I had her help me always move left or right, move up or down. Excuse me. I had to I had bandages all around me for like 4 months at least. I leaked for at least a month. It seemed like probably wasn't that long, but it just seemed like it was that long. Because I always had little spots on my stomach. They would be leaking. You'd be like finding a tire with a leak, and you fix that one, and then you find another one, and you try to fix that one, and then so on and so forth. So. But they fixed it, so it was good. And then from there, for me, after being it stopped leaking and starting to heal, I started wearing less bandages. I started doing a little more exercise, a little more movement. So it was good, but I still wasn't. There was no way I get on that couch and I'd stay on that couch for a while, and we'd be sitting there. Here we have this big TV. We have a big old TV in the house, and here I am. I'm watching on my iPad. I'm watching YouTube. So I'm sitting there watching that, and the whole time I'm thinking, man, I need to do this. I need to start a channel. I need to just give it a shot. Why not? YouTube's giving you an opportunity to kind of be an entrepreneur for yourself. And so what better way to try is try to reach out to the public, let the public decide and like or recommend or don't like or whatever the hell it is that you appeal to, and then don't appeal to. So that said, I just want to continue doing what I wanted to do up here, thinking, hey, this is one of my things. When I received the liver, that's what I was going to do. So here I am. I'm doing it. And see, the days are, I pause because sometimes I got to think, and that's the other problem. That's the other thing that I still suffer from, and that's because, oh, too, I know I keep backtracking, but anyways, what I'm saying is that after, let's see, my liver transplant was in July of 24. Then, so July, so August, September, October, 3 months later, I have a stroke. I had a stroke. Yeah, a stroke. I get up in the morning and I felt really weird, but I didn't feel like. The only thing that was weird is my talking was really. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't say shit. So I looked at my wife and I said, and she didn't know what I was trying to say. And I was, and then she realized, hey, something is not right. So I told her, or I kind of said, let's go to the ER. I kind of got it out. Somehow I got it out. And she's like, oh, okay, no, we're going to take you, you're going to go by ambulance. So, no, just take me to the ER. Well, that didn't happen because we got to where we were going to go there. And she said, screw it. So she went to her dad's house, which he's only like a mile away from here. We went in there and we called the ambo, and then they came, and the fire department came with the ambo, and yeah, it was in stroke mode. Really weird. Man, he can't talk. My left side, which is weird. At my left side, not in my arm or nothing like that. So no heart attack. Just let you all know. But it was on my right, my leg. My left leg went numb. My foot went numb for quite a while. But then when I got to the ER, it was like rush, rush, rush. Listen, me, they whipped me in, and they had a team set up, ready to go. Boom. Then I needed this medicine, and then this is what took forever was to get this medicine because my liver people were like, man, no, we don't want them to have that. We just had a transplant, and blah blah blah. And I just kind of, my wife and I talked, and we just kind of looked at each other and said, what are we gonna lose? Hey man, I was in a difficult position, so I made the call and I just kind of shook my head at her, and she told the nurse, give it to him, and she gave it to me. I can't remember the name of the stuff. See, can't remember the name of the stuff, and see that was a problem for me after a week in the hospital and getting out and going and trying to remember things again a little bit, and talking was my biggest thing, my speech, which I still have some of that effect. It's way better than it was, for sure. But no more than that. That's it. That's all it was. So, but in time, like I said, probably by, and the thing was, is even during the winter, I just bought a new sled or new used sled, and my wife is like, what do you think you're doing? I'm like, well, I'm buying a sled. I'm riding this winter, and there I am without a transplant recovery, out of stroke recovery, and here I am. I'm gonna buy a sled and go riding, and I did. Hey, what the hell? And the funny thing is I think it helped because I paid attention. I always pay attention when I ride my sled. Any sled I rode, I always paid attention, no matter where I was, because you don't know where something is lying low, and I don't want to lose it from here. I don't want to be that short. Be fine. Yeah. Little head dance around like this. Hey, what's going on? No. But hey, it's my sick sense of humor there. My warped mind, and then, like I said, it worked. The riding that sled helped. It really kind of gave me my focus back. Kind of gave me the opportunity to say, "Hey, I can do this. I can really do this." So, hi, honey. How you doing? You're live. Oops. I think I may take a break here just for a second for a station identification break. I'm back. I gotta make some noise. I gotta shut my garage door. Yeah, I should have had it just shut earlier, but it's too nice out to not keep it open. But people are starting to do some yard work, so I don't want you all to be hearing me and blowing or whatever else. So yeah, that was the life, by the way. Coming out and saying, "I can't stand it. How can you drink so much sugar?" Well, sugar is what's in this. It's Mountain Dew. I drink a lot of Mountain Dew. I'm a huge Mountain Dew drinker. Have been ever since I lived in Alabama. When it was around and it came out, it was wow, this stuff is great. So I've been on Mountain Dew pretty much my whole life. That's not why I'm missing teeth here and teeth up here. I don't have any teeth here no more, none. That was because the liver going bad. Um, Good old drug and alcohol use. You know, just the little things. Nothing large, nothing too extreme. I don't think. Anyways, yeah, but hey, I guess I was trying, and I appreciate the one view. Uh, guess it's not entertaining. I know it's not because they don't have it set up and doing something. If I move this laptop, and unplug it, the problem is the damn screen don't stay on. I mess with the settings. Trust me, I have messed with the settings on this thing, and it's like, no, I'm not listening. So I was like, okay, it's a computer. It wins. When it wants to win, it wins. Yeah, and I know I move around a lot just because I actually have osteoporosis going on, so my neck is really not the best in the world. So, and now, yeah, I think that came with time with the old hospital stays because I sit up in a bed like this, sleeping if I slept, and if I didn't sleep, I was still sitting up and back and my head like this, or like this, or like that, the other side, Hey, I don't know, man. There's just, it's a bitch. It is a bitch getting old. It really is. And you don't, you see it as a kid growing up, you see your aunt, your uncle, or your mom and your dad, and you're thinking, they're just old because they're all just old because they're my parents. They're old. And you have grandparents, and you're like, okay, well, they're a little older and they're a little more knowledgeable, you know. And then you have your great grandmother, which is I didn't get to meet my great grandfather. He died 2 years before I was born. Um, Died of heart attack. He was working. Died. Pink. Died. Fall. And so it sucks. So I didn't get to meet him, but I had my great grandmother, my grandma V. Say I didn't mean to. Yeah, that's, because actually my that side of the family is from Greece, Macedonia. Actually, I started in Macedonia, and then went from there, and they came here. Obviously, some did, and that's how the family was started. So, And it goes back further than that. I think, I haven't been to Greece. I didn't get a chance when I was service to get over to the Med, honestly. That's the only one part of the country or the world I didn't really get to was the Med. So, I would have loved to gotten to Greece at least once. I could see because I do have family still there. I have my aunt that I speak to a lot, and so it's cool. I'll get over there once. One of my things on my bucket list is to get to Greece and get there and see some of that country, see some of that countryside, see some of the beauty, see some of the, see it all, see the bad, the good, and the ugly. Doesn't matter. That's how it was even when I was overseas, or overseas on a ship. Wasn't never really stationed overseas, thank God. I really that I liked, but we definitely, like I said, when I overseas, and it's different overseas. Definitely in any country you go to, there's things you can't do. There's things you shouldn't do. There are people that don't like. I hate to say it, but there are other people in other countries who do not like Americans whatsoever. So it's like you go to, like when I went to Singapore, you couldn't get a cab. Them guys would not pick you up. You had to walk and find the subway station or the train, get on the train to go wherever you were going to go. And you're only allowed to go so many places, anyways. And there were other little things like, if you spit in public in Singapore, you go to jail. Seriously, you go to jail. So think about that. All you guys who dip and you ever go to Singapore, don't be spitting on the sidewalks or in the streets. Cops will see you, you're in trouble. I know it's weird, some of those places have funny ways of they live, and it's a traditional way, which I get it. We kind of take tradition and we kind of make it different in some ways, I guess. So anyhow, now I do miss the Navy. I'll tell you that. I miss going on the ship. I miss going overseas. I miss being with the guys. I miss being down in the hole, down in the engine room, hot, sweaty engine room, steam everywhere, noise everywhere. Didn't matter the weather conditions outside. Because I guarantee you down below, it was always 120, 130, maybe even 140 degrees at times. So it got freaking hot. And that was because most of boiler was propulsion on the first ship, and on the second ship it was a diesel propulsion for me. But we had a boiler because you gotta have a boiler on a boat. You gotta fucking turn the seawater into drinkable water. Potable water is what we called it on a boat or on the ship. And so you've got to make sure that that's there for cooking, showering, cleaning, whatever. So you got to make sure you do that. That's one of the biggest things. Is doing that, and I miss working on boilers, and I loved it. I got it down to an art, man. Me and another guy, man. I remember this guy, and I know his name, but I'm not gonna say his name because I never know. But anyways, him and I worked together as a team, man. We went to town on our own boiler on our one side because there were two main spaces on the diesel propulsion ship. There's actually two main spaces too on the aircraft carrier. They're like this. The main spaces are like this. One's here and one's there. One's called 1 and one's called 2 or whatever. Now, so we were on our main space was basically more on the starboard side, of the ship, and the port side of the ship was main space too. And so, uh, in ours, him and I, we worked every shift together running the boiler, and we just broke the boiler down by piece to learn every part of it. And then we learned how, our filtration system that we had. We had this filter, the thing that was probably about 3.5 feet tall, probably at least 2 feet wide, if not more. And then inside there was a strainer. And then you take that strainer out, and that's when you have all your little sea creatures. And you take it over to the side where the bilge is, and we had hoses down there, and you wash it, you clean it out, you get rid of them. And that was a common thing, especially you had to check it every time. Well, which you had to check it at least 3 to 4 times, depending on the trip. Now, depending on if we were only going to go off for 4 or 5 days, you might do it twice, 3 times, because usually, it's always a constant system. So you just have to shut down stuff to get to it. So when you shut down stuff, you have to shut down other stuff, and that turns off things in the boat. So then you have to let people know that this is happening. You just can't do it and say, "Hey, we changed it, we cleaned the filter out." No, it affects everything. You got things you got to shut off. People have got to be aware. So it's a process. So that's why the process is done like weekly, because it isn't really a weekly maintenance check. Because we do have this. If anybody's heard of the MSDS, which is about thicker than that probably now, I don't know. I haven't seen one in a while, but you went by that. Good old OSHA. Yeah, they even freaking told us what to do on this boat. That sucked. But oh well. And if people want to know, did we dump stuff overside? Yes, we did. Sure did. Stuff that was no longer in use. The government deemed it no good. We don't want it. We're not going to sell it. So chuck it. So yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say I didn't see it, because I did see it. Because hell, even on the carrier, my first 3 months there on the carrier, you have to mess cook. You have to go down and work. Basically, you could get assigned to the main deck, the main mess. Then you have the chief's mess, and then you have the officer's mess. And then, of course, the captain's all by himself, but he does sit with the officers. So guys get assigned from there all the way down. Well, I got lucky. I started off actually in the main mess, but I started off as the guy doing all the supplies. So I was always down below. I was always down working in reefers and everything like that, putting stuff away, stacking it here, putting the old there, putting the old that. Anyways, I had a buddy of mine who worked in the airframe shop, and the airframe shop is a body shop for a plane. It's airframe, see, airframe. Anyways, so he worked in the chief's mess. He put a word in for me. Guess what? I left the main one. I went to the fucking chief's mess, and man, was that awesome. Best time I had, man. Mess cranking with the chiefs. Hell yeah, man. They had it nice, man. They set the tables up. It looked like like you went into a dining room at some fancy restaurant, and they'd all sit down, eat, and you'd serve them, go on to serving. Basically being a waiter. You'd set it up, everything. You'd prepare food. You help the cook, because there was only one, and then there was two other people to help him in the back. And then there was just me and myself and another guy, and the guy that got me into the Chiefs vest. Anyways, what I'm getting at is the food was better, way better. They brought stuff in with them for dinners and stuff like that, or snacks and shit. And man, you'd eat like a king. It was good. It was really good, and you got in with some people, chiefs, senior chiefs, master chiefs. You always got somebody you want to take them, and put them in your pocket. Because if you had them, they can back you up if you needed something. And that was the good thing back then too. When I was in, I don't know if it's like that now. It could be officers and protecting enlisted, or not protecting, but helping out enlisted. But chiefs were the biggest thing. They help out everybody. They are the ones that I make the main decisions in operation. I'm going to tell you that most of the time. Whether you have an officer in charge of your division, whatever division it may be, there's always a chief. Some chiefs, senior master chief, or just chief. And it goes like this. I'm sorry. How about this? It goes chief, which is the seventh. Master chief, or not a master chief. Oh boy, now I just had a brain fart. There you go. Senior chief, sorry. It goes chief, senior chief, then master chief. The master chief, as far as you go, is enlisted, unless you want to cross over to become an officer, which you could do. Which guys have done. I know some master chiefs that have done that and become officers. So, but anyways, they were the people you always really reported to, and those are the ones with all the experience. So those are the ones that helped you the most, more than anything. But I did have a few officers. I actually had a chief warrant officer at one time in charge. Man, he was the best. He helped everybody out. Man, it doesn't matter. And he went with you to the bar or whatever. He hung out. You could go to his house. He'd barbecue. He'd grill out. Man, fucking man, that was awesome. San Diego really was. That was my first duty station, and I loved it out there. I really did. California's great, yeah, but it's expensive to live, man. It's not cheap. Being in the service helped, because you get base housing, and man, it's cheaper. If y'all know about base housing, it isn't bad. Could be worse. You could be living out in town and renting an apartment for $2,000 a month. Nah, I don't want to pay $2,000 a month. Not to live in an apartment that's smaller than my bathroom. I know I'm exaggerating, but that's what it feels like. That's just what it felt like for those apartments there. They were small and they were inconvenient, man. They weren't convenient inside, Anyways, those are some of my memories, and then, man, and the other thing, I have a lot of good memories, man, honestly, I really do. I was not a camera guy, never took odd pictures. A lot of it, I left it up here, and then, well, yeah, things went wrong in my life, and anyways, I, I've had a great time, and I do miss the service. I really, really do. When 9/11 happened, man, I remember I was working third shifts. I just got home. I was getting ready to go to bed. I had taken my shower and stuff. I come out, and they were saying, "Hey, the towers have been hit by a plane." Okay, and then when I came out, that's when the second plane hit the other tower, and I was like, "No way! That just not happened. There's no way that did not happen." Well, it happened, and I was like, boom. And when I saw that happen, the first thing I did, you know what I did? I called my freaking detailer that I had when I was in. called him up and he said, "Man, Jeff, you know you can't do this. You know you're rated, you're in your code, and because you have a code when you get out of the service and you're in your DD 214. There's a code, and mine was a medical discharge, but it's an honorable medical discharge because I'm epileptic too. I got a lot of things going on with me, y'all. You just don't realize that it's because I take medicine. You know, nothing like good old drugs to help you out. So you know, yeah. So I couldn't go back. I know I wanted to. You know, I really did. I was ready to go to. Oh, I was ready to go to the golf. I told him, "Send me to the golf, please. Just send me now. Send me, send me, send me." You know, so you know, I really wanted to get out there. I really wanted to find him. I really wanted to fucking shoot the guy if I could. I'd want to be the first one to put the bullet in his head. Yeah, but hey, it didn't happen. So we got him though. I mean, it took us too long to get him, but in my mind, I'll be honest, we could have got him way sooner than we did. That was the old trick, you know. Just keep going, go on. No, I'm gonna start pulling a little bit, a little bit. I'm pulling on that line just not enough. Finally, when they wanted to, it was like, okay, we pull on this line, freaking for 10 years, and now we're gonna fucking kill the guy. When you could have probably had him 2 years after the attack, or even probably sooner than that. See, I'm sorry. I mean, I love my government, but I just sometimes some of the things, the common sense of people is really gone, and that's part of the problem with them. And there's no common sense. And when you lose that, you think stupidly. You just don't think smart because you gotta, I had to learn that myself too, guys. I didn't learn that in a day. I didn't learn that yesterday. I'm learning that today. No, every day I'm learning that. It is what it is, and there's things I cannot do or say about it. I mean, I can say what I want, but is anybody going to do anything that can really do anything? Probably not. It's like when you want an intersection change in your town, and there's been like freaking, I don't know, 2 or 3 accidents or some fatality accidents, and then finally, oh, we're gonna make it a roundabout, or we're gonna put in some different type of signaling so everybody knows, stuff like that. It has to take something majorly drastic to happen to make changes, and that should never happen. Now that's the other thing. Michigan wins 24-22. Into the game, field goal by Zavada. Yes, wow. They walked away from this game, guys. Northwestern, we should have put up more points than what we did. That's for sure. Oh well. Hey, hell, we're now what, 8-2? Yeah, 8-2. Because no, they were 6-3. They. I just watched this. See what happens because I'm talking and I pay attention, and when I talk and I pay attention. So it's that attention deficit or thing going on there, y'all. A little like ADHD or ADD. Either one, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just not, either way, they won. So it's what they need to do. They need to come into playing Ohio State winning. So I think, that's what's got to happen. I think we got Maryland next. I think it's Maryland and then Ohio State. So we go on the road to Maryland. That's it. See, I can remember that, but I can't remember their freaking record. Hello. I know they've only lost 2 games. I know they're 8-2. They should be 8. Yes, it's 8-2. So now, like I said, they got to win against Maryland, and then they got to show up against Ohio State at home here in Ann Arbor. Them coming from Columbus, yay! Ann Arbor will be a freaking madhouse that weekend. So I remember I was in the hospital last year when Michigan played Ohio State and beat them, and it was a madhouse. My wife came to visit and said it was so hard for her to get even to the freaking parking lot to come into the hospital. It took her forever. So if any of you all have been there to the big house at all, you'll understand what I'm talking about because of where it is located. That is the big thing. No, so yep. No, hey, Michigan wins, cool. Now the Lions play tomorrow. We'll see what happens there. Hopefully the Lions can do something. We need to. We need to. We need to. We need to put a beating on Philadelphia. Is what we need to do. We don't need to let Philadelphia let them be in the game at all. Not at all. We need to just show the league to say, hey, we're no joke. Which we're no joke. I know that we're no joke. I know the Lions have been the best I've ever seen them. Even on the days when they were up and down, and even the 0-16 season. That's just wow. They were one of the oldest teams in the league, and we haven't been to a Super Bowl. Are you kidding me? Excuse me. It's ridiculous, man. Detroit was a great team. They were a good team up until when the Super Bowl era hit. That's when the Lions and Mr. Ford, Etzel, or Henry Ford, I'm sorry. Henry decided to make a change. If you ever read any of his, there's a book about the Lions that I read, and I was really shocked. I knew some of the stories, but I didn't know all of them, and I didn't know some of the stuff that went on behind the scenes. Especially Mr. Ford. I mean, he loved his team, but he loved himself. He got rid of some good players. He got rid of Bobby Lane was one of them. He pissed off. Jack Dempsey pissed off. He got a lot of people mad that were good football players, and they went on to another team, and some had success, some didn't. But Detroit decided, hey, we're gonna work this way, and we're gonna be this way, and that was his game. That was Mr. Ford's plan. To have a football team, yes, but to be successful, no, it didn't matter. He just had a football team. So, when you don't really care that you have a football team, well, I guess when you got players that back in the day when they worked and played football, they held a job and they played professional football. And then when they got to the point where, okay, professionals are professionals, they shouldn't have another job, that's when things changed for the Detroit Lions. Is Mr. Ford was like, I got to start paying players, and I'm not going to pay the money that they all want. Not like other organizations that were developing and coming into the league and saying, hey, we're willing to pay the money. I mean, think about it. Green Bay was the first team in the league. They made changes. Hell yeah, they made changes. Look, they won the first Super Bowl. They come from Detroit's division. So that tells you Detroit was good that year. I think they were good that year, honestly. I don't think they made the playoffs. I think they missed out. But I know they were good up until that point to that year, and then after the Super Bowl era started, it went the other way for the Detroit Lions. It really did, you know. So and then we saw it with the Tigers in the '70s. You know, they were good. And they were like this, and, you know. And then when they finally got a ball club and they got players, you know, good old Alan Trammell and freaking Lou Whitaker, Sweet Lou, man, Lou was my favorite player, you know, one of my favorite players. Always him and Trammell. That was the best combination I think in baseball between a shortstop and a second baseman I've ever seen. And I got to see those guys live. You know, it was really cool. The old stadium, sit over and bleacher out in the center field, bleacher feet, seats, feet, yeah, that's what it is, feet. You had to sit out there in bleacher creature seats and have fun. Everybody could scream, hoot, and holler. They could, you know, you could smoke and everything in the ballpark. Then, you know, right there at your seat, you know, whatever. And everybody kicked around. Yeah, back then, even the beach ball was then. It was going around back then. That was like that was early '80s for me. When I started going to ball games, actually as a kid, I don't know. I might have went to a ball game in the '70s. It would have been '78 or '79, but I don't think I did. I don't think I went until like '80, '81 or 80, maybe even '80. I might have went to one game in '80, but once they got better, you know, we started. My dad would take me to a game. You know, I'd have to ask Dad, "Hey, Dad, can we go to a Tigers game?" Yeah, all right, yeah, yeah. But he wasn't the dad to go, "Hey, want to go to a Tigers game?" Like, yeah, sure. I mean, once in a while, you know. But anyways, no. So I got to see a lot. I got to see Kirk Gibson hit one over center field where we were at the bleachers across the street, and it was an Ace Hardware building at the time. It was a hardware, or what was Ace Hardware's uh, storage building, I think. And he hit it out of the ballpark on that roof. And it was like, wow, I've never seen anybody hit a baseball out of a freaking stadium. You know, especially that stadium back then. I know center field was at least 420, 425, somewhere in there. And I know it 420, huh? Anyways, I think it was something like that. So, I mean, that's deep, man. You think about that. And you know, we're back 5, 6 rows up. We're up on the second deck. So you think about it, we're up about as high as a 3-story building, sitting where we're at, and the ball still had that much air to go over all of us, still probably 10, 20 feet in the air above us. And then I ran, and a bunch of us kids, we ran up to the top, man, and we watched you standing at the fence, because there was a fence that went across there. It was just a shitty fence, too. But you would stand on this fence, you know, and watch that ball, boom, it bounced down the roof and it stayed there. It was like, holy shit. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was like 468 feet or something, or 50 something feet, 450 something feet. I don't know. Some stupid record. You know, at the time, I think it was a record at the time. I think somebody's beat that since. And I don't know if it was a Tiger. It might have been another player from another team. I can't remember. I don't know. Uh, I don't know if Maguire or Sosa or any of them hit it like that. And man, back then when he played, I was trying to think of some of the guys, you know, like Mike Schmidt from Philadelphia. I know he hit the ball on the park, but I don't think he ever did it. You know, like, yeah, I don't know about Yaz. I mean, Yaz probably hit it out of the ballpark there, you know, in Boston. Of course, that's a short park. Of course, the wall makes a difference, obviously, but still, if you can hit it over that wall and out of the park, in which I see that, getting to that, they get some love. Like I said, that ballpark is actually short. So it's kind of easy if you get the right pitch, you get the right piece of the bat on the ball. That way, he's gone. But, I'm trying to think. Really, I'm trying. Honestly, I don't even know if Barry Bonds even got that far. Maybe he has. Maybe there's somebody else. I know there was some guys. I know there was. There had to have been. I'm surprised that Cal Raleigh guys this year didn't go that deep. I know he went deep, but I don't know. You just know that was a long home run. So I know I keep dwelling on it. It's just things and I remember in my past. I mean, shit. Michigan Trumbull's still there, but no longer. There's no Tiger Stadium. There is a field there. I think it's a field used for Little League now. I think is what they put there. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of still remembering baseball at Michigan and Trumbull. So uh, I guess I could keep going on, but I guess I've been going on long enough. I'm probably bored a bunch of you. Obviously, you came on here and said, "Screw this! This guy's just talking crap, and he's not showing like weather or showing the game or showing myself racing my NASCAR 25 game, which I've been basically working on here. I've been basically doing this. I played my game. I finished fourth in the ARCA Series points because I'm playing the career mode. I just started my Truck Series career yesterday, and I won. I won a date. Well, it's Daytona, y'all. It's drafting. I mean, if you get lucky, you get lucky, and I got lucky. I think I beat him at the line by like this much or some shit like that. It was like that or something. So I won. So I'm in the playoffs already. Hey, I got my chance. See, here we are. We're playing this game, and I'm already won. So guess what? I'm in the playoffs. I don't even have to do anything else for the rest of the season. I can just drive around. I can just drive around. But I won't do that. Obviously, no. I'll drive to get my points, to get stage points. That's the biggest thing. So that's one thing about that game. Like I think when they make NASCAR makes this change finally and tells us all exactly what it's going to be, which most likely from a lot of rumors and a lot of people more that are inside NASCAR, he's probably going to do the 10 race thing. So that the old configuration, I think of what Jimmy Johnson and Chad Ganow's formula, they figured that out. They figured out how to win in those 10 races and win a championship. It's all about being points and it's all about being up front. Whether you win or not, it's all about those top 10 and top 5. More top 5s, the better. You don't have to have a solid freaking year of having 8 wins and saying, yeah, I'm champ, which should be that way anyways, honestly. I really think guys should have an opportunity. If you are the driver that's had the most success, you should be the one that succeed whether they even have an any playoff system, to be honest with you, really. The biggest thing I think what they should do is do those like they did last year. They did that in challenge, the in season challenge thing. I think they should do that twice. Guys racing for $1 million, you'll see racing. $1 million, man, in your pocket. No, I know the money will probably most likely, no matter what, went to the race team, some went to the driver, and some went to the owner. you know, but still, it doesn't matter. The thing is it would create. I think it would create really good racing because you could do it at the beginning of the season, don't have it for a while, and then towards the end you do it. You get you get added towards the end to the champion. You say, hey, here you go, you're gonna run, and you guys, you could put the what is it? They did well. You do the first. What they did is the first 26 or whatever, 25 people in the points. Do that, and then at the end of the season, instead of that, you're taking the top 10 or top 12 guys and saying, all right, you know, here's $1 million to add on top of it. Go out and win the championship. and you ain't got to worry about doing any freaking. Um, I win and I'm in, and now I can drive around the racetrack the rest of the season and not do a damn thing. Kind of thing. I don't know if guys really do it. I don't think anybody does, but I just know that there's, it's easy to watch some of the guys. They all go out and they win. These guys dominate, but then they have a couple of weeks. They're mediocre because they're testing. Maybe they're doing that. Maybe they're not trying to push it as much. I don't know. So now you got to make it better. You got to make those guys have to push. Want it. That's it. Wanting it. Man, that's kind of like me wanting it. I want it. Yeah, I do. I want it. I want things to be good. I want things to go well for anyone and everyone. So why can't NASCAR drivers take that same attitude during a race and say, "Hey, look, man, I got to win. I got to have good finishes. I need to be consistent." That's it. You got to be consistent across the board. And I'm not saying that's not an impossible task, but it's really hard, especially racing. You just don't know, man. Uh, you could have a bad race. You could have a wreck, DNF. You could have a parts failure, engine failure, whatever have happened. And it goes. And then, because my boy, I've seen him the last 2 years. He's been consistent. He won a couple of races this year. Yeah, he made the chase. Chase made the chase, and not Briscoe, number 9. The one guy who replaced this guy the first time on the 24, Jeff Gordon. I know the light's in the way you can't see it, but it's Jeff Gordon. And then of course he changes his number to 9, so I don't blame him because that was his dad number. So, yeah. But I'm saying that, his consistency yes, he had one DNF this year. And that was at Talladega. And then, of course, like they say, those super speedway races, anyways, it's not even a chess match. It's a run and hope you don't wreck match. And if you can avoid all that and be at the end, you might have an opportunity. That's it. It's like, you bob, or like somebody said, you zig and you zag instead you zig and then you zag, or the zag and zig thing, whatever. That's the bad thing about those races. And that's why they need to add horsepower. But then, too, NASCAR needs to allow these teams to have the car back. You can keep the model that you got. You can go with this new car, but let the teams have it back. Put it in their hands to make the car better, make it faster, make the teams that are slower they're going to have to really work. And if you don't, then you won't get results. If you do, then you get results. And I do. I think it's only right that this racing was born on that. Guys building cars, putting them together, setting them up. Yeah, guys, cheat everybody. I mean, come on, man, it's racing. You got to find the edge. You ain't got to push that envelope. Got to go outside that gray box, that gray area. See what you can get. See how far you can really, really push it. I saw it. I saw it when I was working in late model racing. I didn't race, but I'd love to get behind the wheel. Don't get me wrong. Love to get behind the wheel of a real car at any racetrack. I would not be afraid to go to any car, any racetrack, any club car, and take it for a ride with my setup, not theirs, mine, and see if it works. And so, hey, that's just my thinking. That's just what I do. I do that, and Yeah, but yeah, I started off working late model over in Nashville at the Nashville fairgrounds. And I'm telling you, that's one of the best places to live in this country. And I know a lot of people are leaving there now. It's a new thing. It's a new place to go. It's a new place to live. I lived in Antioch, if anybody knows that area. But I worked at the airport. This was after I got out of the service. I moved to Nashville. But anyways, what I'm saying is that, I started there doing that late model stuff. And then I moved to from Nashville to the other side of Tennessee, and I just started working. I was done. I didn't have any. It wasn't. I was going to races and watching races. But I was trying to talk to teams and say, "Hey, man, if you guys need a hand on the weekend, let me jump in." You know, didn't quite happen. I got to, my first wife, and I would go to, because definitely in Tennessee you have bunch of short tracks everywhere, bunch of dirt tracks, of course, dirt tracking everywhere, which was awesome. I love dirt racing. Nothing like it. Nothing like getting that mud and that dirt up in your mouth and everything, and you leave and you feel like, hey, you need a shower because you're covered in that dust from mud. So, anyways, I put, at the time there was a website for NASCAR jobs. So I looked down there and I happened to see a guy was in Florida working. He owned a team and needed some people. So I sent him application or resume and things, and he called me back and he said, "Hey," and we talked, and I moved to Florida, and and so worked on that team for a while, and then got out of doing that for a while because my wife didn't like me gone. I was already gone enough as it was when I was at the service, and then there was other things to do it too. Anyways. Uh, so I got out of it, and then when I moved back, I came back from Florida back to Tennessee. I ended up meeting this guy who did tire services for the Bush Series. At the time, it was the Bush Series. So I'm like, cool. Oh yeah. So I'd go with him. We'd go over to North Carolina. We go into old Rusty Wallace's shop, and we did tire stuff in the back of his shop. So we dismount all the tires, take all the way, throw all the tires out, or actually we'd have wheels, rims. I call them rims. Everybody calls them wheels. Whatever the fuck it is that a tire goes on. Okay, so we would take them and clean them up, repaint them, re-sticker them if they were usable. Because we fix the lug nut holes, we fix the lugs, we would retap the lugs, clean the lugs out and everything. Because guys they want the lugs back, they would reuse them. Yeah, for sure. And I know it sounds weird, but yeah, and guys would reuse them, and you clean them all up, and you put them in a bucket, and you bring them with you, and you divvy them out as you set up. Because when you got into a racetrack, you did everything on a Sunday night. On Sunday night at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you were loaded up. You were going to a racetrack because you had to be there by Wednesday. No matter what, it was Wednesday. Wednesday. You had to be at the gate 8 a.m. No, earlier now. I'm sorry, 6 a.m. when it was still dark out, and be there to get ready to unload because we had to get in there. We had to unload everything, put everything where it goes, where Goodyear wanted it, and then you leave. You go outside of the park, the racetrack, and you stay there for the weekend, and you watch racing for free because you go into the pits because you got passes. Because you get a hard card. NASCAR gives you a hard card, so hey, go where you want. So I would. I'd go over and I'd talk to people on certain teams and get to do things for them. Ask them if they need a little extra hand here and there, and I would help guy do his gas, or something. Take the cans to. Uh, was it Sunoco still then? Yeah, maybe it was. I'm not sure. But anyways, yeah, take it to them, and they'd fill them up, and then you take them out, and then you put your nozzle, your piece, the male end in that goes to the female on the receiver off the gas tank, and yeah, you put that stuff on, and then you set them where the refueler wants them, and you set them in his spot for him. That way he's set up and he knows what he's going to take over the first time when he goes over the wall. And the same with tires. I would go through, and if tires needed to be checked, go through and do that checking thing. You see the guys with the torch, and you little gauge, you're checking the depth, seeing how much tread you lost, because you always check them before you do it. Every tire is always checked. That's why you see those lines and stuff on tires, tape. It's because it's the point of where they checked, and then it's that point too. They're setting up the guys that do the tires. They want certain colors of tape in areas, so they know when they grab that tire every time they're going to turn it and run it to that point, and they know that's their on point. So there's no misjudging on it. It's a repetitive motion. Trust me, because I've done it. I've done that. I've actually done the tire. I've done tire changing. I did it in the truck series. I was front tire changer, but I didn't do the gun. I was tire carrier, basically. But then there was times I did do the gun because we didn't have anybody that could really operate a gun. Because I hate to say it, yeah, we had guys that weren't that athletically able. They didn't have the athletic ability to do it. I did. I was fast enough on the drill, or on the gun, but I wasn't that quick. But I was quick enough. And then I got to the point where I could say we would find guys, because you had guys at the races back then that were on old teams that weren't on teams anymore, and they wanted work. So you'd take them for the day, and they'd become your tire guy. And I had this guy quite a few times, really, really good with the gun. He got me to the point of learning how to get that tire on there fast and quick. Man, and we were fast. We were beating the other guys on the end, We were always waiting on the rear. Always waiting on the rear. We always had our front down. We were ready. So I was getting good at that. I really was. I liked it. It was fun. Yeah, it was tough, taking that tire, my skinny little ass, picking up a 75-pound tire. Because that's what it weighed when it had air inside and inside. There was two different, because you had an inner liner. I don't know if they run it. I don't think they don't run the inner liners anymore, but you had inner liners, and you had to fill them with more air than the outside pressure of the regular tire. It sounds weird, but it's the truth. You fill it up with more air, like you would fill it up with 90 pounds, and then outside you fill it up to what NASCAR would say. They would say they recommend 35 pounds or less, or whatever it was. And you would put in close to what they recommend, because you don't want to go what they recommended, because if you did that, you never know. It could mess up the vehicle. They could turn the race car or the race vehicle into a tight or a loose situation. So that's why you always varied the weight, because you always weighed the vehicle crossways, like this. You do this and do that, all the way across, and that way you knew where and what tire pressure you wanted, and the springs you put on it. Of course, obviously, it makes a difference. But a racetrack, right? But racetrack that makes a difference on how big of a spring you run in front or the rear. Your sway bars at the time, or your sway bars, which you still have, your track bar. There was I'm missing another bar. There was the sway bar, the track bar, and the Panhard bar, and those were all adjustable. So you had whole hole in the hole, or you had a whole hole in the hole, or whatever, how you set it up in your car, in your vehicle. Well, most of the time, it was usually on the, I want to say it was on the right hand side for the twos, and the outside hole was for, I think that was a track bar. One was a panhard bar, the other one was a sway bar move. And most of the time, though, you really couldn't move a sway bar. You had to put it on what you were going to put on and usually go with that. And if it didn't work, you could change to another one. But usually you didn't want to change or go higher. You could go higher or you could go lower by a couple degrees or anything or something like that with them. But normally that's what you, or not degrees, inches. I should say inches. So, anyways, just a little insight on that. That's how it works. And now it's different, kind of. I mean, they can still do it, yes, but now it's more of an electronic move instead of a real physical. I mean, you are physically moving, but the adjustment you're making is done by, it's doing it electronically. So it's not like then where you just went in there, you threw 2 rounds in her down or whatever, and then was like, okay, go see if it worked. And you just knew. Now that car, now you can only go half. I seen guys do half. I seen guys do 2 or 3 rounds in or out, but that's if your car is really fucked up. A lot of guys won't say. A lot of guys would say that. I mean, you're a guy seeing us driving like a bus, or it's all over the place. It's driving like we're on ice. And then, that's where it varies, and it varies at the racetrack. It varies on the condition of the racetrack. If it's concrete, if it's asphalt, but they do that makes a total difference, and a lot of people sometimes don't realize that, but it does. I mean, it really does make a difference, especially for a race car. Now, your street car, yeah, not really. Honestly, it depends how you drive your street car, though. Asphalt more grittier, grinding up material than concrete, depending on how the concrete's laid. So, but it does make a difference. It does make a difference, and I know a lot of people that watch NASCAR now, and some of these folks that are a little younger than me in this generation, that want to like a NASCAR and want to be a part of NASCAR because maybe you had family that got you into it, friends, maybe you got yourself into it. You thought, oh man, this would be cool. Yeah. So it's a great sport. I love the sport. I've always loved NASCAR. Being inside, being an insider for a while, it's great. It's awesome, but it is hard. It's stressful. That's fucking for sure, man. You miss out on things. You do miss out on things sometimes, and you're on the road a lot. Yeah, and you're everywhere you go, especially during the summertime. Doesn't matter where you go, it's hot and humid all the time, man. And that's the biggest thing when you, especially when you work on a team and you're standing there in your gear and or whatever you had at time for us, it was wear what you could wear. Don't worry about wearing no helmet because you didn't wear no helmet. You wore gloves, yes, you wore gloves because you did not want to burn your hands with a freaking burnt tire, or not just a burnt tire, but the brake key. If you're at a short track or an intermediate track or anything like that, or the brake is used, obviously it's going to be freaking hot. It's hot no matter what. So, anyways, sounds like I got my neighbor up, wasn't a weed eater or somebody weed eating. Hey, well, I guess, anyways, I'm going to get off here. I'm trying something different, and if any of you did watch or whatever, respond. I didn't see it. I wish you could have. I wish some of you would just say, "Hey, Jeff, this isn't what you're cut out for yet," because you don't have. I'm not sponsoring anything. Not really. I mean, I'd love to. Some of the guys and some of the I got like there's a card up there above my garage door opener. That guy there helps me out, gives me a lot of parts. Uh, but I wish I could say it in music, but I would. And I got another guy too with that, but I just haven't. Actually, I just haven't gotten the balls to say, "Hey, man, I don't want to say sponsorship because if I do, then that means, hey, I got to pay it. No, I don't want to be paid. I just want to put you out there and show people that what you do and you care for those out there in this, definitely in the snowmobile world. That's what I'm saying because he's a snowmobile guy. Got a huge junk. Well, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a junkyard. It's a junkyard, but it's a junkyard of good stuff. Actually, I mean, it's every snowmobile you can think of. Imagine, I think that he may that was built. He may have one of each. If he doesn't, he's missing just a couple, and he's got a lot of duplicates too. And so it's awesome. Plus, he even he's a barn on the property. He's even got sleds that are good sleds put up. He'll sell them to you. It just depends on which sled it is, too. So it's great to have basically a graveyard guy with graveyards that with sleds that were no good or whatever stuff. So and there's a couple more other people and gentlemen. They're not in this state; they're in other states. But so I do get help for parts. Well, I get help. No, I don't get help. I mean, I help myself to get in the parts. I pay for the parts, obviously. I mean, that's the thing about a rebuild, especially when it comes to a sled. I feel like I'm rebuilding the car, and I had a car in here before. But anyway, see, here I am rambling again. It's just because I'm enjoying it. I like talking. I want people to hear me. I want people to look. Stop for a minute. Take a glance. Listen to what I'm saying. Give me a chat. Write to me. Let me know. Give me some feedback. Maybe somebody's watching. Maybe somebody happened to come across here who's a really good editor, creator of things that way and say, hey, Jeff, this is what I use to do. I'd love to find what I'm saying is to do editing, your thumbnails, your titles, do it all in one. And I know there isn't all in one because, the ones I use, like CapCut, I use iMovies, believe it or not. I use the thumbnail from YouTube. Of course, I use that to do my thumbnails. The vidIQ, that helps me out. There's other things. There's all these other platform things that it's available to you, but there isn't one out there going, hey, we do it all. If there was one out there that said we do this, all of it, hell yeah. Let's do that. Let's get one in one place and have it all done at one place, so that way you can just sit there and do it. And I know that's probably not the idea behind any of this, and YouTube probably doesn't want to hear it. But I think it should be that way. I think it should be wide open for everybody. If you want to start out, if you succeed, you do. If you don't, you won't stick around. I mean, honestly, I think people would figure that out for themselves. It's like, okay, this isn't working. This isn't for me. So I give it a try. You give it a try. So it's that's what I'm doing. And given this is an experiment for me to see, and I can see right now it's not working. I've had one person view, and they probably came in and swiped away, clicked me off. Hey, I am brave enough to at least come on here and talk. I don't see other people sometimes doing this. At least maybe they are, and I don't see it. I don't know. I just, Yeah, yeah. The game's over, and here I am. I'm just rambling now. So yeah, I'm gonna go cut it. And guys, thank you for listening. If you did, if you hear me, great. If you didn't, I understand. And if you don't, yeah. Anyways, y'all, thank you. No, not yet. No, not yet. Not yet. No, no. I want to say to you all too for you know um sorry I took that break just for a second because I had some difficulty. I just want to say too for thank you for hit that like button when you look at any of my videos or my shorts. Check out some of my videos. I know they're a little long, but take that few minutes to sit there and listen, and then make that decision and say, no, that ain't for me. I understand. I understand when it's not for you or anybody else. And before I go off the air, I'm going to do some, probably going to get in trouble for, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do my time. I pass the time. If anybody looks and notices the time what it is, it's past that time. I know it's 4:30, but 4:20 was 10 minutes ago. Yeah, I'll probably get in trouble for this. So, guys can sip their beers and drink their alcohol. Why can't I light up? Right? So, hey, anyways, y'all enjoy your smokes if you smoke and whatever else you do. And stay tuned for more. I'll figure out my live streams a little better. Maybe I'll get some help and assistance in it. Maybe, and that way maybe I can get another person in here, and we can have a conversation. And that way, then it's just not me talking. We can sit here and bullshit both of us and enjoy it, and you can see, and here maybe I can try to talk one of my friends into it. I think I can. I tell him he can sit in here and drink his beer like he does. Yeah, I can see that. This is another thing, real quick. Yes, I'm a recovering alcoholic, but no, it does not bother me if anybody sits in front of me and drinks or anything. I'm not worried about it because I don't care about it. That's the thing. I do not care about it. If you want to drink in front of me, if you did, if you didn't, and you say I don't want to, because no, don't change up yourself because somebody else has changed them because of their habits and their needs that they had. Don't change yours. If you feel like you want to, then you indulge yourself. Even around somebody, even if you ask him, hey, do you drink? No, I don't drink. Okay, can I have a drink? Or some people will ask me that. Do you mind if I drink? Drink all you want. My wife, she doesn't like doing that sometimes, and I tell her, honey, what the hell am I gonna do? Nothing. That's it. Nothing, because I don't do nothing about it because I don't want to do anything about it. That's it. Except my weed. That's it. Oh, sorry. Yep. Well, I got the weed thing from my dad. Come on, man. Y'all, I was young enough when my dad would trust me. Yeah, it's just smiling because thinking about him, you know. And sometimes at those times was when dad was cool. When dad was stoned, it was fun. Anyways, y'all, thank you again for liking and subscribing. Thank you all to those who are out there doing it day in and day out. Those who like and subscribe and have been watching. like what they see, and all those in their Saturday mode, keep the mode going, and enjoy, have fun. Y'all later.